Hey, what's up, y'all? It is Thursday night, January 24th, and we are back for another Truth Talk. Hope you're doing well. It's been a crazy week already, but God is seeing us through. What's up? Hey, what's up, Nora? How you doing? What's going on? Bramy Bear. Hey, what's up, Luna? Hey, what's up, Bree Beautiful? What's going on? I'm so glad y'all are tuning in. As you all know, we're going to have my brother from another mother on tonight, none other than Kirk Franklin. Even though we share the same name, many of y'all think we related. We're not, but we are divinely connected without a doubt. And there's so much stuff that God is using us to do. And I'm just grateful to know him. And I'm so excited that he would come on tonight and share his truth. For those of you that don't know, I've been doing these truth talks as a way to lead up to my new book, The Truth About Men, What Men and Women Need to Know. And this is the hardcover, y'all. This is getting real. This book drops February 5th. And let me tell you, it is going to blow you away. I mean, seriously, I believe this book has the missing information that if you're a woman, you need to know what's going on with men because you're dealing with men and you don't even know. So I'm trying to put you up on game so you have the information you need in order to navigate your dealings with men successfully. And for men, we got to start doing our part. Here's what I wrote in the book. It's time for us as men to do our work because we are the problem. For too long, we have placed the responsibility of our poor behavior at the feet of women. It's time for men to man up and allow the buck to stop with us. That's why I wrote this book. We got to do our work. If you pre-order this book tonight, you're going to get the first 3 chapters free and a free affirmation video, which I did just for you. But you got to act quickly. If you go to DeVonFranklin.com/truth, you can get it. So let me get my brother Kirk on board and let's dive into this truth. Hold on.
Waiting for Kirk Franklin. Yo.
What's good, sir?
What's good, man?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. It's good to see you, boy.
It's good seeing you too, man. It's good
Yeah,
seeing you too.
it looks like you're over at For Your Soul.
Yes.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Kirk has an amazing studio that what city is it? Austin?
It's in Arlington.
Arlington, right. Yeah. So Kirk's got an amazing studio in Arlington, and I'm gonna promote him right now before we jump into this true talk. Y'all, he's getting ready to drop a single on you that is going to blow. Listen, if you think you've heard Kirk Franklin's music, you have not heard his music until you hear this new single that's getting ready to drop. He invited me to the studio a few weeks ago. I had a chance to listen to it. Let me tell you, it's incredible, man. When's the single dropping?
Midnight tonight.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh, yes. I love it, man. So this is perfect promotion for the single too.
Yeah. No, man, congratulations on your book. And, you know, I'm just really proud of what it is that you are doing. This is so needed, man. And I wish I had this when I was coming up as a youngin'.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, man, dude, listen, you started the Truth Talk, to be quite honest with you. And you started, being honest and open and brave years ago when you made that appearance on Oprah. So, anything that I'm doing is really just an extension of what you've already done. So, I'm so excited you come on tonight. And as you know, because we've talked about the book, I wrote The Truth About Men, What Men and Women Need to Know, because I believe it's time for us as men to do our work. Yes. And to start to become accountable and responsible for our behavior. But as a young man, growing up, without a father, before we get to the Kirk we know now, talk to us about the younger Kirk in those years as a young man. How did you figure it out? What were some of the things as a young adolescent man that you were still, even though you were in the church, you were still struggling? Like, what was that like when you were trying to navigate and figure out what it meant to be a man? Before you became this Kirk that we know today?
Yeah, it's man, the reason why what you're doing is so important because there's nothing more frightening and nothing more destructive than to be a man without a blueprint, to not have any navigational system, to be able to not know what your purpose is, and to be able to fumble through the majority of your life and not having identity, that you then begin to put on other people, and you put your negativity on them, and you put your bruises on them, and you put your scars on them, and so you exacerbate this generational downward spiral that we see in so many men of our time, is because the lack of a blueprint can be transferable. And so it is very important. And so for me, like, I had no dream, I had no purpose, I had nobody ever speaking into my life. I was adopted when I was 4 by a 64-year-old woman, and she was a widow. And so not having a man in the house was very destructive for me. And living with the abandonment of my mother, I became very promiscuous, and trying to find the love of a woman the wrong way, because I was so so empty with not having love of my mother. And so I ruined that journey and process. So I wasn't taught the right way.
So, can I interject on that point there? You know, so when it came to sex, did anybody talk about sex, you know, when you were younger, or were you just kind of left to fend for yourself?
I want to be very candid. I think that we've got to be able to have candid conversations within our
Absolutely.
Community. I think that the issue of sexuality is so oppressed in the African American community that it becomes over sexualized. That it's almost like we become over sexualized because it's not a healthy place to have the conversation. And we know that anything that you try to hide and oppress is going to come out in a very perverse way.
Yes.
Because it's almost like Paul saying, sin seizing the opportunity. You know, Paul said that I did not know what sin was until the law said, do not sin.
Right.
And so because there's no conversation about sexuality and how healthy it is, for example, this past weekend was my wife and I's anniversary. And so
what year?
23, dog.
Man, congratulations, man. You 23. And Tammy setting the standard, boy.
What up, fine self. Yeah, so and I'm gonna be 100 with y'all, you know.
Yeah.
Me and wifey, we were ministering to each other.
Yes.
We was ministering.
Knowing each other, getting to know each other in the biblical sense. There it is.
We was ministering to each other, and my 18-year-old son knocked on the door. And so when he knocked on the door, we freaked out, right? And so when she, you know, and I was like, you know, yeah, man, we busy, come back. So when I went into the kitchen, he was in the kitchen, and he said, well, you and my mama doing it? And I looked at him, I said, yeah. And he did like this. He was like, Daddy, you know. And my wife was blushing, but you know what made me proud, though?
Yeah.
Is I think that the image of sexuality in marriage does not look like a very healthy, beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And at his age, I want him to know what the bar can be. Because for a lot of men, they think that they have to stay single to be able to keep a certain fire and a certain passion in their lives. And I believe that that is a true deception, because you continue to exacerbate that sinful nature. And so you never really know what healthy love can look like. And I want my 18-year-old young black son to be able to know that there is a healthy sexual love that happens when a man and a woman commit themselves and their bodies to God's way, you know. And I want him to be able to know that there's not something that you have to be quiet about. There's not something that you hide. It's not something that you oppress. That God made it beautiful, but he made it beautiful just like fire. Fire is a very beautiful thing, that it keeps us healthy. It keeps us warm. It helps prepare our food. So it's a great thing. But a fire out of control can destroy the entire village.
Burn the whole thing down.
To be able to understand the essence of what that fire can and can't be. And I can't do it by hiding it from him. I've got to be able to let him in on knowing that I love your mother in every way that God ordained for me to love her. And I did not have that as a kid. And so I stumbled being very promiscuous because of the hurt I had from not having a mama, and then getting introduced to pornography at a very young age made it all even more disruptive and unhealthy, and it became a very disfigured being. And so, and I spent a lot of my life, even after I became a born again believer, because sex was not talked in the church.
Not at all.
No, 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 no. Watch this, dog. Watch this, DeVon. DeVon, watch this. As I got saved at 15 years old, right? And the church that I was a minister of music at, because I was a minister of music at a church at 15 years old. And I'll never forget, once I got saved, now I had a conviction about being sexually active. And I went to my pastor and I went to his office, and this is real talk. This is real talk. And I went to him, I said, Pastor, I'm saved now, and I'm struggling with living wrong sexually. Do you know what he did?
No,
He
what did
sat
he
back
do?
in his chair. He sat back in his chair and took a puff of his cigar, and he said, "Ah, boy, you young. You'll grow out of it."
What?
I grew into it,
Of course.
not out of it.
That was his response. You'll grow out of it. Oh, dude. But why? I mean, listen, you've been raised in the church. I've been raised in the church. And I talk about this in the book, that no matter how saved, sanctified, and filled with the Holy Ghost you or I may be, that does not by itself take away the urges that come upon us to do things that we know we probably shouldn't do, but we still have the desire to do. No matter how often people say, just give it to Jesus. Well, sometimes Jesus gives it back to us because he's like, you got to do your work. Why do you feel the church, instead of being an environment which is a safe space where we can, talk about these issues and heal from these issues, why do you think the church culture still, even today, suppresses these issues? Why do you feel that we are not at a place where we can honestly deal with sex and sexuality?
It's because I believe that there's a high level of biblical illiteracy in the African American church. I believe that because of a lot of these systemic things that have always been very constant with our race of people, that you have a lot of pastors that really don't have an academic background in their biblical interpretation of scripture. They're for a lot of preachers, it's been a lot of on the job training. So they don't really have a very academic approach to the text. So they don't really know how to walk out the text. And a lot of that isn't their fault. I mean, think about it. Even during the 60s, segregation was happening in a lot of biblical seminaries. Now, I don't know what Bible these Negroes was reading to be able to keep black folk out of church, out of Bible school. But there were a lot of Bible schools during segregation that would even allow African Americans to be able to pursue biblical degrees in theology. And so we have a high sense of biblical illiteracy in the pulpit. And that's a very strong problem that we have. So you don't know how to rightly divide what the text says about salvation or sexuality. And so, and then not only that, and then we have an issue as people of color about sexuality, period.
Right.
That we have never seen our mamas and daddies talk openly about their sexual relationship or sexual experience. For a lot of people, for the generation before us, it was just for having babies. It was never for pleasure. This is what you do just to procreate. And so you have this whole culture that has followed a lot of our beautiful people that we have never had the freedom to talk about. And then you suppress it with bad teaching of religion. You have a bomb waiting to explode. So you have a cultural situation where you have a cultural dynamic, and then you have a religious dynamic. So you have this duplicity that is always fighting each other so that the people remain lost and ignorant in everything that God called them to be.
Man, I mean, I think you're 1000% right. And it's unfortunate because the thing you said earlier, which I completely agree with, relative to suppression, anything we suppress, we empower. Anything that we're in denial about, we actually empower it to destroy us. And so when it comes to this issue of sex, as in the church, man, when I was growing up, they were just taught, don't do it. That's don't do it. But it's like, I got that up until a point. And then what happened with me was, I wasn't doing it up until senior year in high school. And then I got into a relationship. And then I was like, well, I didn't have a good enough reason not to do it.
Yeah.
Because the only thing I had been taught was don't do it.
Yeah.
And so because I didn't have a good enough reason not to do it, I did it. And but
Yeah.
but not only did I do it, I was telling everybody else, especially in the church, that I wasn't doing it. So I was lying to those, trying to present an image, but reality, I was doing it. And over time, man, it just didn't feel right, because that's like, I didn't know how do I deal with all this. This is
Yeah.
why I love this conversation that we're having, man, because we need it. And there's so many people out right now that are listening that this is the first time they're hearing this conversation. And even in the hearing of this issue, there's healing in it. How did you, as you were, coming into adolescence, and obviously you've been very open about, porn and whatnot, when you first started seeing these images, how did you process this? As a young kid, was it like, this is crazy, this is good, this is bad? Like, what was your thought process at that time?
I think that it can be the issue of, we are by nature sexual beings. Like I remember Oprah talking once years ago, and she was having a conversation about when she was being molested as a little girl, because and she went through being molested as a young girl, and she was talking about as when she was a young girl being touched inappropriately. It was very awkward for her because she knew it was wrong, but then it was something about the touch that in essence felt good, but you knew it was wrong because it was coming from this wrong person. And so just how convoluted that can be. And so it can be the same thing with being promiscuous or even pornography. It's the issue of, because we're sexual beings, that touch, we were born to be touched. We were born to be held and embraced. And we were created to be sexual beings in the right sense. And so when you don't have that right teaching of what that natural feeling is, then it becomes very antagonized, per se. And so if you don't have anybody to be able to redirect you in what is natural and what be surrender in the reality, it's like, okay, you're a young boy, you got hormones, you're horny. Those are real feelings.
Real
so
feelings.
Where do I go with those feelings? And so if I just tell you to go to the altar, I'm not giving you all the story. I'm not giving you, that's just like me going to get a checkup and they say you got cancer. Okay, well,
what am I supposed to do about it?
Yeah,
what are we going to do about the cancer?
Yeah,
right.
It's like, okay, you got cancer, thank you, goodbye. It's like, no, what is the plan? And so we don't do a good job of walking people through the plan. And I think that hopefully there's a new generation that will see that we cannot continue to exacerbate these issues, but transparency and honesty is going to be able to get people back on the right track, because God can only heal what we reveal.
Yes, and reveal, because sometimes we are hiding from ourselves.
Yeah,
because there's so much shame and guilt, especially around this issue of sex, that we can't even be honest with who we are to ourselves, let alone to God.
Yes, sir.
And as a result, a lot of this behavior, just persists, and it doesn't get healed. It gets a whole lot worse.
Yes, sir.
How were you able to get to a place, did you have to hit a rock bottom, so to speak, before you said, okay, I've got to do something about this, or I've got to learn another way to, have a healthy sexual life? Like, what was that process like for you?
What it is, what it was to me is that becoming a born again believer became very powerful, and it became a very important piece to my Christian journey. Like, I did not, when I came to Christ, it was life transforming for me. I really became very passionate, very quick about really wanting to live right. Now, the problem was I did not have the tools, and I did not have the knowledge to know how, but I had strong desire. So when it came to, now I'm full blown being sexually active, and now I got conviction. And now I don't know what to do with it, because now at this point, it's like all the bros are doing it.
Right.
And at this point, there are grown men in the church doing it. And at this point, there are pastors in the church that are tipping and dipping. So it's like I'm looking all around and there's no real clear blueprint. But in my heart, I knew something was wrong with it. Something was wrong with being that active. And in my heart, I knew that I was not feeding myself the right food. And so what I thought was going to fix it was getting married.
Now we talking.
Woman, beautiful woman, great woman, fine woman. And I'm thinking, okay, it's like I got this fine, pretty woman. It's gonna be on and popping every night. You know what I'm saying? Whoop, whoop, whoop. And then you realize that the sickness is spiritual. That ain't physical.
Oh man.
And because it's spiritual, one human can't fix that. And especially when a man develops a diet.
Now you all up in the book. Preach it, man. You keep going. Yes, say this.
Okay, so now I'm finna really give y'all some 100, ladies and gentlemen. And if there's some dudes on here and ladies, listen to this, because I'm little Kirk finna give you a little bit of some right here. If a man has a woman, let's say, and that woman is the woman that lets him make the booty call, lets him come over at night, and she's the one that always let him drive the car, treat him nice, let him come over whenever he wants to. Well, that's one style of woman. So now he's developed that diet. And then he got another little dip over here, and let's say she's a freak, she's a freak, she'll do whatever, boom, 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 boom. It's always on and popping, always firecrackers, and then that's that woman. And then he got the little shy woman, I don't know much, and then he goes over there and jumps off. So now he's got these 3 different personalities of a woman that he's physically active with. And then let's say that there's another woman that she may not be really all that in the bedroom, but she's a good woman, so she got a good job, she's smart, and and she may want to be broke off every now and then. So he go over there to break her off. So now he's got these 4 women he's sleeping with. But what he does not realize in the spiritual realm, he's got these 4 spirits.
Yes.
He's sleeping with
these 4 spirits and these 4 diets that he's accustomed to.
4 diets and 4 spirits. And then he gets married. And he don't realize it, but now he's expecting for this one woman to perform and feed all of these different diets that he's developed. So now he's got these 4 diets that he's expecting for this one woman to fulfill.
Now we talking.
And when she don't fulfill it,
I'm going to find this page in the book.
Now they're having problems. Because what he did not do is he did not divorce those diets.
And I say in the book, and I'm trying to find it, here in the book, but dude, I say in the book that one of the reasons why our divorce rate is so high, one of the reasons why our marriages are in such trouble is because as men, we develop an appetite outside of marriage. We have no discipline before marriage in our dating life. We have no discipline. So what you just talked about with all those different diets, I talk about in the book, just to back up. So the fundamental idea behind the truth about men is that every man struggles with lust. And that lust is a selfish impulse for personal, professional, financial, or sometimes even spiritual gain by any means necessary, even if those means are detrimental. And I call lust the dog. I say that lust in men operates like an untrained dog. And if we do not learn how to master the dog, which means put love in control of lust, we will become what this lust wants us to be. We will become what this dog in us wants to be. Love is in every man, right? Love of self, love of God, love of the woman in our life, love of family. But here's the thing. The one that we feed is the one that will win. So we have to, as men, either feed the master or feed the dog. I call soul food for the master. I call vice, which is dog food for the dog. In dating, most of the times we're feeding the dog. We have all these different diets. We like to eat all these different things. We're hanging out with all these different types of women, and our appetite is completely out of control. So by the time we get to marriage as a man, we don't know how to, like you're saying, settle down and learn to feed and learn to from one woman, allow our appetite to be fed, because our entire life up until that point, we've had so many different diets. And so this is where the struggle is. And then when you add on to suppression and we don't talk,
Yeah.
then you're in a marriage and you are struggling and you're suffering because you don't know who to talk to, that you don't know how to be committed.
Yes. Yes.
You know,
Yes.
go ahead. No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
And ladies, you have got to, just like when you're on social media or your own situation and you opt out of the conversation, you have to take the power to opt out of the diet. You got to opt out of the diet, because if you don't opt out of the diet, he's going to keep you in it.
Yes.
Because it's part of his diet. It is part of his meal. And your fear of abandonment or loneliness is something that you've got to walk out with Christ, because if not, it will be a cycle. Let me tell you something. I am confident, I'm confident that if I didn't yield my heart to Christ and submit to this beautiful institution of marriage that can be painful, and I want to talk more about marriage in a minute, I'm confident that I would be 20 years later still out here riding around trying to holler at gals. I'm very confident, because what we don't realize is that our new nature grows. Our old nature don't get saved. When we get saved, it's almost like, for the best example, and Tony Evans says it like this: if a car factory closes down, they stop making cars. There are no more cars being made. But what that car factory cannot do is go back and get all of those cars off the street that it's already built. That's good. So what happens is, the reason why it's so important for men to come to Christ at a very early age and get developed is so they don't build too many cars.
Right.
That's why a man can be in his 30s and his 40s and hear an old song 20 years ago and make him think of a motel room with some girl he was in high school, because it is a spiritual dynamic, because he built a car years ago. And even though the factory is closed down, Jesus then came, saved our souls, and that old man has been crucified with Christ, Galatians 2:20, because we built all them cars.
Yes.
If we don't realize that we have got to monitor the fact that we will never be comfortable around some of the cars that we built, and we've got to be able to monitor the reality. That's why, for me, I ain't got a lot of female friends.
Oh man, man, dude, this is literally, you're in my notes now, man. I want to get to this, because this is a very important topic you're getting ready to get into. I want to come to this in 1 minute. Here's something you said that I think is so important for anyone listening, and I think it's twofold. What you said to women is opt out of the diet, and this is really important. And again, women, we are not putting the responsibility of men's behavior on you at all. One of the dynamics of this conversation in the book is to say, hey, man, we got to do our work. But also, women, let's just put you up on real game. Let's just tell you the real truth. Don't allow yourself to inadvertently or unintentionally be a part of a man's conquest. And that's what Kirk is saying, like opt out of the diet. I was talking to a young lady today, and she was asking me what the book was about. And I was telling her, that a lot of times men, when we want to feed the lust, we'll keep a woman in a gray area. We'll, not tell her the full truth. We won't tell her we have other diets when we're dating. Yeah. So what you're saying, I think, is so important. And any man listening right now, have the courage now, while you're dating, to change your diet. Get disciplined now. Yes. If you can get disciplined in your sex life right now, I guarantee you it will unlock discipline in every other area of your life, and there's no place you can't go, because this issue of sex is so hard. But right now, if you get disciplined, nothing you can't do. What were the steps that you took to get disciplined in this area, man? Because I admire the fact that you have done what you've done in this way, and I think others may not know the steps that you took in order to get this type of discipline.
Okay, now here's the difficult part. Here's the part that comes where the words jump off the paper. And here's the difficult part. The difficult part is, did my screen just get dark? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, did my screen get dark? Is that me?
Yeah, mine got a little dark too. I think when you're on Instagram for a while.
Okay. So this is what has to happen right here. The conversation that we're having, the conversation that DeVon and I are sharing and just breaking bread and boom, 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 boom. It now boils down to this: personal choice. You have to want to be different.
Say it.
And this conversation does not work for a man until he wants to be different. And for Kirk Franklin, I was tired of the man that I wanted to live this thing. Because see, for me, if the Christian life is not a real life, then I don't want it. Like I'm the type of dude that I have a difficult time being fake or anything that is not real. Like I don't like anything that is not real. Relationships, anything. Like friendships. Like I'm just a very, like I'm very OCD person. So I'm very extreme. And so if I love deep. If I hate deep. I'm working on that. Pray for me. You know,
yes.
And so I really have a lot of, very extremities to my life. And so if I was going to be a Christian, there is no way that I could still be out here smashing. There was no way that I could still be engaged in pornography. Like I felt very fake if I was going to be doing that. Like it was very difficult for me. Like that's why like if you listen and the people following, you would have to really know like my catalog of music to even know really the history of my music. But if you listen to my music way back in the day, way before Kirk bringing the family, like I was writing songs like I'm sorry, forgive me, clean me up. You remember that one?
Yeah, yes.
yeah. Like I was always writing songs about my
man, because from what you're going through, right? Like,
yeah.
Hey,
like
please clean me up.
All of that. Like you remember them songs? Like there was another song that I wrote for a lady back then. We'll say Myrna Summers. It said, deliverance, Lord, give me deliverance. Or my stone will pass away. So or like the God's property stuff. He'll take the pain away. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was always, kind of doing those kind of songs because I was struggling. I was struggling, and I was not happy with the man that I was. And I remember my first year of marriage. And when the issue of pornography didn't go away in my first year of marriage, I remember Tam and I just been married a year. And we were in Los Angeles, and we were laying in a hotel bed. And I just kind of turned to her, and I said, baby, I want to tell you something. And I want to tell you something that's really embarrassing. But I have a secret that I've been keeping from you that you don't know anything about. And I said, I struggle with pornography. And I was 26.
Brave.
27 years old.
Brave.
And I just did not, and I just felt like a fake. Like it felt hypocritical to be married and this woman this young woman, now that I have kids, 26, 27, it's like I felt, you're a baby and you don't know. But it was something about my Christian life that it wasn't right living like that. And so the only thing that I can say to you women is that if you have a man that does not hate his sin, you can't change that. And man, until you get to a place where you don't like your sin, it won't change. You can talk all day. Think about it. Ladies and gentlemen, you see it every day. How many people you meet talking about, man, I want to go to the gym. Man, I want to lose this weight. Man, you can talk about all you want to. Talking about it ain't going to make you lose weight. It ain't going to make you on a treadmill until people get to a point where they choose. That's the so incredible thing about salvation, that you can hear everything you want about God. You can hear everything you heard about the gospel of Jesus Christ. But Jesus does not come real into your life until you choose him as your and he's a gentleman. He will never force himself. So it has to do with your sexuality. Like I'll never forget, and I'm gonna let you jump in because I can talk. I'll
I love
never forget,
it. Keep going.
Me and my wife were having some marital problems, and we have some marital problems. We've been married about 5 years, and we started going to counseling. And y'all y'all follow this. I drug her about the counseling. Like every time me and Tammy go to counseling, it's always been.
It was
me.
on you.
I
That's
believe
a
in
change.
counseling.
That's different. It's usually the other way around.
Bro, I've been going to counseling since I was a teenager because I believe in it. I love counseling.
Yeah,
but this
I do
time I took her to counseling because I thought I was right, and I thought she was the problem. And I thought it's like so like I took her to counseling, and I was just ready for the counseling to tell her about herself. When it was her time to speak, and she started sharing with the counselor, and she started sharing about how my sexual diet started to shut her down. And the freedom that she wanted to feel as a woman, she couldn't feel because I suppressed her with my own sin.
Ooh.
Bro, let me tell you something. That broke me down. That
Whoa.
broke me down. But you got to be in a place that you want to see women past you, men past your career. It boils down to this, DeVon. A man has to want to love God over everything.
Over everything.
Over
everything.
Over everything. I don't care how big a girl's booty is. I don't care how fine she is. I don't care how dope the sex is. If a man don't love God over everything, none of that will last.
None of it. None of it
will last.
And what's so profound about what you're saying, which I'm praying that everyone watching gets this. The two things that you're saying. One, Tammy could only help you do your work because you wanted to do your work first.
Yes.
She could not do your work for you.
Yes,
and
sir.
I think this is so important. And one of the reasons why I wrote the book is because I want women to have information about who they're dealing with. And so what you're saying is important. And sometimes, women have come to me, for help in their relationship or situation, and they're dealing with a man who's not ready to do their work. So they fall into this trap where they become a codependent, and they try to get him to do the things that he doesn't want to do. And sometimes the way to get a man to do what he needs to do is to say, listen, I love you, but I love you enough that I got to love you from afar. I can't, if you're not willing to love God over everything and do your work, I no longer can be a codependent to your mess. I just can't do it.
Yeah, man.
I can't
God
do
over
it.
everything.
God over everything.
And so around, let's see, we've been married, Tam and I have been married 23 years now. I would say maybe about 6-7 years into our marriage, I started praying a prayer on my own.
What was it?
I started asking the Lord, and it's crazy because, I'm not the deepest brother. I ain't the smartest one in the room, but the Lord just started laying on my heart something, and I just started to pray this prayer. And I never forget being just in the back bedroom, and I was just praying, Lord, sanctify my sexuality.
Whew, man.
Sanctify my sexuality.
Lord, sanctify my sexuality. That's good.
Just because, like, see, like sexual marriage can be turned. It can be lit, and it can be whatever you want it to be. The Bible says about how the wedding or the marriage bed to be undefiled. So it's like, if y'all want to turn up in y'all's bedroom, y'all can have a party and just get it in. But the thing is that if a man is not healed sexually, he'll make the bedroom a room where the woman feels like she's not in there by herself with him. Whoa. She'll always feel like there's somebody else in the bed with us.
Whoa.
Because if you don't divorce that spirit, if you don't divorce all them freaking nights you done had as a man, if you don't divorce all them jump offs you had as a man, you'll contaminate your marriage, and you'll never get to the beauty of what she's supposed to be. Like, it's almost like a man will be so busy trying to make his wife what he had that he'll never to tap into what she is.
Right.
And then she'll suppress what she is, and then she'll forget who she is. And then she'll never express all the beauty of what God made her to be. And I'm going to tell you something. When I started learning how to let Tammy be who she is, and me stop trying to put on the image of a video vixen or a chick I had, woo, 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 but then to love my wife, bruh, bruh,
Mm.
she has become the most sexiest, most beautiful being
Amen.
in the world for me. And I'm talking about 23 years. And I'm still grabbing that booty when she passed by. 23
Amen.
years, I'm still kissing on that neck. 23
Yeah.
years, I'm still saying, let's go off in this closet real quick, gal. You know, let the man of God lay hands on you.
Right. Holy hands. Holy.
Yeah, you know, yeah.
Yes.
And then when you get healthy as a man, you realize that every time ain't gonna be hot. You know what I mean? You realize it ain't gonna be always firecrackers, and you get to the point where y'all can laugh at it. You know, she'll be like, then you want to do what you think you?
What was
You know what I'm
going
saying?
on today?
And that's what the
What was
friendship
happening
is.
tonight?
Yeah, that's what makes it so dope. It's almost like, you know, when you jump in bed, it's like, you gonna keep that hair bonnet on? You gonna keep that bonnet on? Because it ain't gonna be popping.
Now you sound like Megan and I sometimes.
It ain't gonna be popping with that bonnet on. You must want a real quick here, because with that bonnet on, I don't.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. But a man only gets there when he wants to be healthy, and you only want to get healthy when you realize you're sick.
Yes, yes. And
Yeah.
man, listen, and I think this is the epidemic, is that too often as men, we don't realize how sick we are and that we need help. I mean, I write at the very beginning of the book that just because, you know, I'm writing the book, or just because, you know, people know who they think I am, if I take that to make it seem as if I think as a man, I've already mastered all this,
Yeah.
you can count the days when I will fall. Because too often as men, we say, oh, no, no, I'm telling you. And that's why I think you and I are so close, is because we recognize, like, yo, hey, every day we work on this thing.
Every day.
We don't got it mastered. We sick. We need healing and help every day.
Every freaking day, dog. Every day I've got to be at that cross. Every day I've got to stay vulnerable to the Lord, and to know that without him, I'm going to have a crash. I'm going to crash and burn my marriage, my witness, and my testimony. And the majority of the people don't believe in our God because they have lost hope in his church and his people.
Man.
Because
that's
the people in the church, it looks like a circus. It looks like a circus. Because we have forgotten, apart from him, we can do nothing. And I'm going to tell you something, man. This is what I learned right here. I love Tammy. And Tammy Franklin is a beautiful woman. Megan is a beautiful woman. But I'm going to tell y'all something, ladies and gentlemen. They are not beautiful enough to keep a man from falling. Do you know what keeps a man from falling?
Man,
His
preach.
love for God has to be greater.
Preach.
And I'm going to say this one. And I may have to leave you on this one, Bishop, because I don't know how to feel myself after I say this one. I'm so dumb. I'm so dumb. No, let me tell you what also is the way that the Lord has given me a humble blessing to try to walk right before him as a married man. Because you travel, I travel. We can be away from our wives. They can be away from us. And this is how I've been able to embrace it. No man in his right mind would ever slap his woman in front of her daddy.
That's true.
No man would ever put his hands on a man's daughter in front of her daddy.
Yes.
No man would ever cheat on his woman in front of the girl's daddy.
That's right.
The reason why I see it that way, and the reason why I believe that God's word and the kingdom wants to see it that way, is that one of the reasons why I fight to live right in my marriage is because Tammy is God's daughter.
Oh, man. Woo,
and because Tammy's God's daughter,
yes.
Tammy's daddy is always with me.
Always.
And
always.
because Tammy's daddy is always with me, how I treat her is how I treat his daughter.
Man, dude. I'm trying to find a section in the book, but here's what I wrote. Man, this is why God is connected.
Hold on.
Like,
can I get a little water?
Get your water while I add your point. You get your water, yes. A few years before Megan and I even got married, I had a vision from the Lord kind of almost like a nightmare. And so I was at my wedding, and I was at the altar, and I was getting ready to get married. And before I got married, the pastor said, "Look, turn around." And I turn around, and down the aisle, the center aisle of the church, there's all the women that I dated,
Woo.
but they're all slain open. They're cut open,
Woo.
and their
That's
bodies are
good.
littered down the
Oh,
aisle.
I know where you're
And
going, though.
man, and God said, "Do you think it was worth all of them to get here?"
Woo.
He said, "These are my daughters. Do not play with them." And man, it was such, I mean, it was such a clear vision. I can articulate it just now, even as if it happened yesterday. And that motivated me to say, wait a minute, here I am, just because, even though, I mean, similar to you, I was having an issue when I wasn't waiting and I was having sex, between who I wanted to be and who I said I was, and wanting to be
Yeah.
committed to Christ, but still, not living that life. And so the lack of peace is what caused me to ultimately decide to become celibate and wait. However, even when I was waiting, I wasn't a good dater all the time. That lust, that dog in me was still, doing what it wanted to do.
Yeah.
And as a result, there were some of God's daughters that I didn't treat like his daughters.
Yeah.
And to this day, truthfully, I feel terrible about that.
Same here.
You know,
Same here.
I
Same
mean,
here.
seriously.
Let me share with your people this one too, because I don't mind sharing truth, man, and I don't mind being, just being transparent. I when I was 16, 17, I paid for an abortion. Was out there living wrong, and I got a young lady pregnant, and
Wow.
and so we went and we got an abortion, right? Let's see, Keziah had to be 10, 9, so maybe like about 8 or 9 years ago. So about 8 or 9 years ago, me and Keziah are going to the movies one night, and it was on a weeknight. So sometimes movie theaters are very empty on weeknights, right?
Sure.
And so we were going to go see a movie one night, and this young lady was coming out of a movie.
Oh, wow.
And it was that young lady. I hadn't seen her, what 25, 30 years, right? 20, yeah, something like that. And I saw her, and she hadn't seen me since I was 16, 17 years old. And so I said, hello. And she said, oh, wow, hi. And I had my little son with me. And I said, this is my son, and I've told my son this story, so I'm not saying anything that he doesn't know, and I'm not saying anything that my wife doesn't know. And so after I introduced him to her, the conviction of what happened, and I pulled her to the side because it was in my spirit, I felt this is very cruel that this lady is seeing me with my son, and I took away from her the same possibility of her being able to have what could have possibly been a son. And I pulled her to the side and I said, I just want to say to you that I would love to beg you for your forgiveness for what I did to you when you were a young girl, and what I took away from you, and how embarrassed and how guilty I felt for many years for committing murder and paying for an abortion. And I'm so sorry for what I did to you. Bro, do you know that this woman now, she looked at me with tears running down her face. And she said, you have no idea how long I've waited to hear that.
Wow.
Because think about it. I mean, since I was 17, my life now and my career has become a public life. She's seen me with my kids. She's seen me now have my own marriage and life. And, she's had to live with that. And that is wrong. That was wrong of me. That was wrong of me to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, but very
So
brave of you to say what you said. Most men wouldn't have done that. Very brave. Very brave. That dude, that's incredible. That's incredible. And what I deeply appreciate about it, and so many people are appreciating your truth and transparency. So thank you for it. Is that this is what we have to do. And being honest and being apologetic and contrite for things that even in time, we didn't know any better and did it, but your contrition to her, man, I think is powerful. And the fact that you would even let us know that and tell us that, you have no idea how healing that is, because so many people bear the pain. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to write this book, because as men, we just do what we do. And a lot of times we don't always think about, do you realize what may have been a moment for us could be lifelong pain for them? What may have just been casual for us, is never just casual for them. And so I think what you did is powerful, man. And I can't tell you and thank you enough for sharing that. Powerful.
yeah,
It's powerful. And to do it and do it with your son there, I think that sets in place a model of transparency and candor that we need, especially as both men that grew up without fathers, then modeling that for your son to show him what a real man, looks like.
Yeah. And and I know somebody just said, why didn't you try to reach her years ago, and to be able to do that for her. Years ago, I wasn't mature enough to even know what to do. You just live guilty. You live with the guilt, but you don't know how to execute, how to fix it. And so you get older and you learn from your mistakes, but it don't take away from the fact that I was wrong. And I own that. I own that I was wrong. And I just want men to be able to try to hear from the lesson, man, so that you don't have to continue this cycle that those of us that didn't have that, like, I don't know if you had a daddy or not, D, but man, but
no, my father died when I was 9. So
man, women have no idea how dark life can be without having a man to navigate.
You got that right.
What it's supposed to look like, because men model what they see.
That's right.
We model the superhero.
Yep.
Think about it, ladies. Ladies, think about it, ladies. Grown men every Sunday, all over the United States of America, grown, rusty-booted, nappy-headed, hairy-chested men all over America every Sunday from August to January, wear the jerseys of other men's names on their back because they idolize the success of successful men. Think about it. Men that will never ever get on the football field every Sunday put on jerseys of other men with other men's names on their back because men are naturally wired to have heroes.
Exactly. And when we don't have that hero in the home, man, growing up, it's destructive. I wrote this, literally, I have a whole chapter in the book on fatherlessness. And I just want to read this part. It says, we talked about the reality that most men have some form of brokenness, because I believe that as men, we carry this brokenness around in us because society tries to tell us this is what a man is. None of us meet that standard. So as a result, we deal with the brokenness that standard of manhood creates. I said, well, the deeper reality is that this brokenness is often inflicted on men by their fathers. We're in something of a fatherhood crisis in this country. 63% of people who commit suicide come from fatherless homes. Men who grow up without fathers are more likely to act out, abuse alcohol and drugs, have low self-esteem, have a hard time dealing with stress, and suffer from depression or anxiety. Men raised by physically or emotionally abusive fathers are more likely to become abusers themselves and to harbor the self-hatred that makes them desperate for ways to feel good about themselves, most often through sex. And I'll read this last part. When a father isn't around to teach a boy how to be a man, or the only lessons he teaches are fear, domination, and humiliation. We shouldn't be surprised when the boy grows into a man who has no idea how to live in a world where he's expected to show love, vulnerability, and fidelity. I've shared with you my experiences surrounding my father. He died when I was 9, and I pretty much had to face my entire life without a father to turn to. Even today, the pain of not having him around still affects me deeply. It took years of nurturing by my mother and the women in my family, and the years of my own prayers, discipline, and development to avoid becoming a statistic. Fathers have a powerful, irreplaceable impact on how their sons show up in the world as men.
That's beautiful, brother.
Man, thank you. And that's why, you know, the way that you father your children and the way that you father even other, you know, this generation, to be quite honest with you, because even outside of your music, you know, you've always been one that's been transparent because, you know, we have to father the fatherless. Even though I'm not a biological father yet, one of the reasons why I do what I do is because I don't want others to go through what I went through without having a dad. Man, it is hard. It's painful. It's painful, man. You know, it's even today.
I'm proud of you for this. I'm very
proud of
excited
you
about the book, man.
Man,
And
man, dude, this is the work. This is the work that we have to do. And Instagram is about to cut us off in a minute. Once you go an hour, man, Instagram cuts you off.
Oh, really? Okay.
Dude, yeah, it's about to cut us off in a minute. But okay, but I just want to answer this question, and I'm gonna wrap it up. I wrote in here safeguards, and you started going there earlier. How do you safeguard your relationship? How do you put, you know, protections in place so that you don't allow anyone to just camp in your yard?
Girls that look like B will never sing with me.
Oh man, I love it.
I ain't having no Beyonce looking background singers.
You can't have no Beyonce looking background singers.
That ain't happening. That ain't happening. And if a woman can't be friends with my wife, then it's not a healthy friendship.
Mm-hmm. You think it's okay for men to have married men or men in relationships to have female friends?
If they're friends with the wife, like if this is someone that the wife has relationship with too, because if you are missing that type of friendship and it's not happening in the marriage, that needs to be something that you really need to realize that is not a very healthy.
That's right.
Relationship. You're not experiencing the fullness of what that wife is supposed to be in your life. That if you enjoy this other female more laughing and woo 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 and like keying it up with some of the other girls at work, and none of these girls are cool with your wife, and y'all can't ever go to Starbucks together, that can be problematic.
Yes, absolutely. I write in the book how it's so important as a man to monitor your female friendships because you do not want to have someone else meet your emotional needs other than your wife. And sometimes our wives have a better insight to other women and their intentions than we do. So, you know, we got to let them help us with that blind spot too.
Yes, sir.
You know, so I know how that is, man. Well, dude, listen, I cannot thank you enough. As you all know, in a week, bro, Truth About Men drops in a week. If you all, anybody listening tonight, if you pre-order it tonight, we'll get you the first 3 chapters free. We'll also I did a free affirmation video for you. If you go to DeVonFranklin.com/the-truth and you pre-order it tonight, you'll get the first 3 chapters immediately, and you'll get this affirmation video, which will just encourage you in your life, encourage you in your relationships, encourage you if you're single. You really need this video and these chapters in your life. I do believe the book will be the difference. Also at midnight, is it Eastern Standard Time or midnight Pacific Standard Time? When is the single dropping?
Oh, the single comes out midnight.
Okay, so
just
probably
midnight
Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah.
Yo, what's the name of the song? What's the name of the song?
The name of the song is called Love Theory.
Love Theory at midnight tonight, Eastern Standard Time. Go to iTunes, go to Spotify. Love Theory, Kirk Franklin's new song is going to blow you away. We love you all. Thank you so much for sharing this truthful moment with us. Kirk, thank you, my brother, forever. Love you, man.